What's up, Lil? Yeah. Yeah, living that talking head. Coming to you live with Daigo with VRified Games. How we doing, Daigo?
Hey Ed, how's it going?
Going, man. It's going with the momentum of a runaway freight train. What are we doing today, my man?
Whew, oh, a freight train, huh? Okay, well, today Ed, we're taking a look at Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Or is it Kena, Bridge of Spirits? I'm not sure, but in either case, that's what we're looking at.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so we got this up in VR with UEVR. The game is normally played from a third-person perspective, but you know how we do things, Ed.
Yep.
Yep, we just had to get it into first person, and we have motion tracked objects. I won't say motion controlled objects, simply because it's literally just for show. There is no melee system within UEVR just yet. What I mean by a melee system is, if you're familiar with Vortex, and even if you're not, the melee system that they have in place is using gestures, which are motion controls, triggers button presses. So for instance, if I was to swing my motion controller, and for example in a game like Zelda, that would swing the sword, because when I swing it triggers the action button. That's what I mean by a melee system. Now it's not in place. You could use third-party software to implement it, absolutely. Well, I'm still hopeful that one day it will be integrated somehow within UEVR. So in any case, we do have Kena's staff, as you can see on screen. That is motion tracked to our right controller. Again, it's just for show, but it's kind of cool because this also acts as a light source and it illuminates areas where it's pointed at. So it's kind of cool. It works well for what it does, but it would be nice to be able to actually melee attack with this thing. Anyway, going back to Kena. Now, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, is normally played from a third-person perspective. And the gameplay style is very similar, if not damn near borderline rip-off, of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom. If you play these games back to back, you're going to see so many similarities, you'd swear they were related. The art style, very reminiscent of, say, kind of a Studio Ghibli cross between Disney Pixar. It has that kind of art style and animation sensibilities of both studios. You will notice when you encounter the little forest spirits, how very Studio Ghibli they are. How very My Neighbor Totoro, this kind of aesthetic that they appear. All other characters, including Kena herself, environments, look very much like a Disney Pixar movie. Not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all. So as I said before, the game is normally played from a third-person perspective. I do have a toggle in place so you can toggle at any time in-game from first person to third person, and that's on your numpad 0. Very, very good for viewing cutscenes. Now, you can actually view the cutscenes from a first-person perspective, and they work fine. But to see them as they were originally intended by the artists, just press 0 and you'll see the cutscenes as intended. There will be some instances of gameplay where it's probably best to play in third person, just simply down to that's how the game was developed as a third person perspective game. Still works fine in first person, that is my preferred way to play. You play your preferred way. That's it. But I don't know, man, there's something cool about being in first person in VR, being inside these games. Now, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a sort of a gaming history buff. When I cover games on, say, Dolphin VR, PP, SSPP VR, Vortex, etc., these games are usually very well established, have been out in the wild for years, and there is a deep history in the lore. They're probably part of a series. So I like to delve into that, kind of discuss what's going on, why I love those games, etc. With UEVR, this is very much the Wild West, because we're getting to experience new games in VR, which wasn't even possible with Vortex, because you had to wait some time for profiles to be made, for updates, for things to work correctly.
Why have you come?
I sense suffering here, Spirit. Do you need help?
You know nothing of suffering. This is my home, my village. Turn back, Spirit Guide.
So it would be very rare where you'd get a launch game up and running in Vortex. Not so with UEVR, because it works on an engine level. You're getting new games almost daily made on Unreal Engine that you can play in UEVR. Now, Kena is one such example where it's a new IP, history exists. Well, I say it's new. The game Kena released maybe a year and a half ago, but it's still a new IP, it's still fresh. There is no history here. So I can't go into it. All I can really talk about is the similarities that I see, and those are Legend of Zelda, The latter games, chiefly Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the Disney Pixar art style influence and the Studio Ghibli art style influence, and obviously there's some cross-pollination because it's a very Asian folklore / spirituality focused game, which Studio Ghibli movies tend to be as well, so you can see some kind of crossover there as well. So what is Kina Bridge of Spirits all about? Well, you play the title character, Kina, okay, and Kina has this ability where she can tap into the spirit world, okay, and she is essentially what we would call in the West an exorcist, where she goes in there and she kind of helps spirits out, kind of helps them move on, battles with dark spirits so they move away. That's what that's all about, and this didn't come in a vacuum. The inspiration behind Kina is very much a real thing. Well, I say a real thing. It's very much steeped in folklore in Asian countries, especially Japan, that have this sort of mythology or a spiritual belief in a spirit world that inhabits our own. You can interact with these spirits, they can interact with you. It's mostly an unseen world, but some people have the ability to see. And Kina is very much of that vein. From there, it takes a very Legend of Zelda style focus in terms of an open world, and the combat system, it seems very much lifted from Breath of the Wild. So you battle these dark entities, these dark ghosts, and you take them out. And you restore order and balance to the natural world. You can see here in the gameplay we go through some combat at the beginning, and we also do some light puzzle solving where we search for these little creatures called rot, and use them to progress in the level. So, as with most of my playthroughs here, we don't go too far past the introduction because I want people to experience these games for themselves. Like, it's only right. So I don't really like to do spoilers. I try to avoid them as much as I can, even going to the point of altering cutscenes in certain games. Now, for new games I don't feel the need to do that, because I stick to the very beginning. You're going to have experienced this within the first 5 minutes of playing anyway. So how does it play with UEVR? Well, out of the box it plays fine in the third person perspective. It plays as you would imagine a third person perspective game in VR to play. Your camera is decoupled and you follow the character from behind. It's very cool, and it works amazingly well. Of course, us being us, we have a first person perspective implemented. We have motion controls. Well, again, no, I want to reiterate, we don't have motion control, we have motion tracked objects, not motion controls. But it's very immersive and it works very well. Your little companion sits on your shoulder to the right, so you can see him. Some people might find that annoying, so you can toggle it off. However, I have left him on for the simple reason that he acts as a hint system within the game. Like, if you're near an object of interest, this little character will jump off your shoulder and he will go over to that object to let you know you need to go there and you need to see what's going on. Now, if I made him invisible with a UEVR, you would miss a ton of stuff, so I don't know. He's there on your shoulder. And that is purely by design. I meant to leave him there. It's a gameplay mechanic that is broken if you make him invisible. And that's it. Two other little nitpicks, or caveats. You will notice, in brightly lit areas in the daylight, some objects rendering only in one eye. Now, these are small little like puddles, pebbles, these kind of things rendering only in one eye. Otherwise, it works fine in native stereo. However, if you switch to sequential, everything will be fine and will render as it should. But it will come at a cost to your CPU. It doesn't bother me all that much, but just in case, that's how you get around that. Also, in the in-game cutscenes, the FOV seems to shift automatically in-game to make it more dynamic or cinematic, whatever it is.
I saw him here somewhere. Where did he go?
Hi there.
But in UEVR, this causes a sort of a fish-eye lens effect. Now, again, this only affects in-game cutscenes. Again, it's a small nitpick, but you can get around that if you wanted to by switching to 2D mode within UEVR. And you can set up a toggle system to do that if you wanted.
Hi. Oh, it's alright. What happened here, little guy?
To install is very easy. There's no need for Cartoon Crawl today. Yeah, sorry, Carl. Yep, just simply download the profile in the description there and import it into your UEVR. That is it. You're good to go. So yeah, that's it. Kena Bridge of Spirits with UEVR. I am having a blast with UEVR, you guys. And each new iteration it just gets better and better. So I guess we're going to leave it there, you guys. Like, comment and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, queries, any critiques, put them down below. If indeed there are any games you'd like us to look at VRifying in the future, put those down below and we will presumably get back to you eventually. You can also follow us on TikTok for our adventures over there, which are basically condensed versions of what we do over here. And yeah, follow us on all social medias. All links will be in the descriptions. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you there also. Alright, VRified Games out.